Marvel's new animated series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, wrapped up its first season. And if you feel like this video should have been out sooner, I apologize. I was very busy popping champagne on my yacht and staring out over yonder on a cliffside because, ladies and gentlemen, we got another one. We finally get the Spider-Man dub we've been waiting for since No Way Home. Specifically where Tobey Maguire brings back that one line,
"Oh, my back."
All jokes aside, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you plan on watching it, then don't let me be the one to ruin it for you. That being said, I'm very happy to tell you that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a slapper. To warm you guys up, the show starts out on Peter Parker's first day at Midtown High, where things get a little crazy before he can take it all in. A portal opens up above him, and out drops a symbiote who begins terrorizing the students, but not long before Doctor Strange makes an appearance to wrestle him back. While Doctor Strange makes the effort, a peculiar spider hangs out through the portal, eventually landing on Peter. By the time the dust settles, he gives Parker a good chomp, and the rest is history. Cliff notes aside, I'll kick things off by saying that the show did a great job with the artistic direction. It really celebrates those comic book roots, and they knock it out the park. Peter's looking fresh, the waves on Norman's head are crispy as hell, and the villains have to be my favorite part about the whole thing. There's Doc Ock, and I mean, look at Scorpion, bro. He's got that thing on him. If we're still talking about the art though, I really enjoy how the transitions on some of the scenes would flip you from one comic panel to the other, or they would like split off in the same scene. It gave the show some of that comic book swag, and I love that sort of stuff. I know a lot of people weren't crazy about the art here, but I can get behind it. In this show, they don't do anything too new with Peter Parker. He sort of just checks all the boxes, just a dorky ass boy that swings and shoots webs. If I gotta tie him to any of the previous Spider-Man, he's probably the most like Tom Holland to me, which is totally cool. I fuck with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He's got all the typical Spider-Man quirks you can expect out of him as well. Dropping funny lines during fights, and he's just socially awkward as hell. He's about as Peter Parker as it gets. In contrast to that, I really want to point out all the unique changes in this show compared to how Spider-Man's traditionally gone about in the movies. I kind of mess with how involved the Osborns were in helping Peter come as his own as Spider-Man. Not only that, I love what the show did with the Osborns in general. Harry is this charming yet lonely rich kid that is isolated from his peers who befriends Peter. Then there's his father Norman as your typical larger-than-life CEO of Oscorp, but feels so much more layered of a character than just that. Norman takes Peter, who is an Oscorp intern at the time, under his wing after figuring out that he is Spider-Man. Yeah, you probably could have looked up and saw that you were being recorded, brother.
You're Spider-Man.
Not only did it make for a lot of fun scenes, such as Peter testing out all those silly costumes, Norman and Peter specifically form this bond early where Peter has someone to look up to, as Uncle Ben has already passed away in this series. There's some good bits between the two where Norman passes on his wisdom where, in our view, it's not the best advice, but comes from a place where you could tell he means it and applies it through his actions. With great power comes great respect is a line that you can see Norman stand by in every action he takes. Now, a lot of this is credited towards Colman Domingo, who is a highlight voice actor in the show. He really shows Norman's mix of earnest yet egotistic demeanor. Norman means well, but you see just enough darkness in him when he speaks that doesn't quite sell you on trusting him. The parts that show this best are whenever Norman's sort of alone with his thoughts, or when he talks to his longtime rival, Otto Octavius. Dr. Octopus Marvel Rivals confirmed? Excuse me. Him and Norman have this rivalry where Otto holds a lot of jealousy towards Norman, and that if only he had the abundant resources like him and Tony Stark, then the world would truly know his genius. What makes their conflict interesting too is that Norman and Otto are alike in many ways, though I'm sure they'd never admit it. Both of them are terribly ambitious. Norman's quite reserved about it, and Otto would scream it to the entire world if he could. Now, Otto as a character alone was really fun though. The way they designed him was great with the traditional pudgy boy look with the bowl cut and glasses. He's also hilarious. Being his eccentric, ego-filled self in most scenes, it's clear in the show he's a brilliant scientist, but he's got this basement dweller energy that is so entertaining. There's literally a part where Otto is like yelling at his assistant for calling him in the middle of his cutting edge research, and it shows that he's like far farming XP on some game. Whoever wrote this character must have had a lot of fun because it really shows. And they seem to be taking Otto in an exciting direction too, dropping teasers like him drawing the Dr. Octopus arms on his prison cell walls. It makes me excited to see where they take him next season. And the way they go about Tombstone's story was pretty great too. Here, Lonnie Lincoln gets provoked into dropping basically all of his academic aspirations, turning from a star high school quarterback with the girl into a member of the 110th Street Gang to protect his younger brother after he got tied into all of that. And this evolution from Lonnie to Tombstone goes smoother than you'd expect. The show took its time with Lonnie, as he was very reluctant to go along with the gang's actions, and they definitely didn't make it easy for him. A turning point, though, was when he saves the 110th boss, Big Donovan, from getting killed. And from there, he slowly becomes a prominent member and begins to own it, for better or worse. Eventually, in Spider-Man and the 110th's fight against the Scorpion and his gang, Lonnie gets exposed to this gas from an Oscorp truck nearby that makes him virtually indestructible, moving him into the character that is Tombstone. To throw some other characters in the hat, more so on the teen drama side of the show, there's Nico Minoru and Pearl Pangan, who kind of serve as Peter's emotional rock, alongside Harry as well. They do tease Nico's powers in certain bits of the show. It looks like in season 2 they're going to open up that door. Apparently Pearl also has a comic origin as Wave in Agents of Atlas. She doesn't have the most rich comic history, so I'm not really sure if the show will push her past being Peter's love interest, but you never know. Moving on though, like I previously talked about, the heavy involvement of Oscorp was a really good choice. Here Harry acts as Spider-Man's guy in the chair, while Norman helps with giving him the necessary upgrades needed. I think the process of Harry and Peter dealing with a lot of Norman's corporate-backed ideas of what Spider-Man should be really brought those two together and really solidified their idea of what Spider-Man should really be about. This slight drama mixed with Peter figuring out what the hell is going on in the city really paced out his growth nicely. The show really communicates well that Peter has a lesson to learn after every adversary that he faces. Hell, after his first fight with Scorpion, he gets pretty rattled from it, and he starts to second guess if he's even built for this hero stuff to begin with. Over the course of these events, Spider-Man would receive these upgrades from Norman, eventually leading to him getting some new suits, which is great fan service, and eventually gets his familiar suit that we know him for towards the end. It really does feel earned when he gets it too. By no means is there a point in the show where it's like, boom, he gets it all figured out. It's nice and gradual, and it makes for a good payoff when the show gives us what we want. One of my favorite things is the way the final episode ties perfectly with the first. Over the course of the show, Norman reveals that Oscorp has been creating spiders that replicate the one that bit Peter in episode 1. On top of that, all the work that Norman has Peter and the other interns do was also that he can open a portal into the cosmos. Doctor Strange comes back during the experiment to talk Norman out of it. Norman says, "Nah, fuck that," and opens it, letting in a symbiote. Now Strange tries to take it back to the cosmos, but accidentally opens a portal to the past on Peter's first day at Midtown High in the first episode. Now I know it's a bit unorthodox and not everybody's a fan of Doctor Strange's involvement in Peter becoming Spider-Man, but I don't really mind it so much. I feel like it gives a unique viewing experience and really makes its own identity as a Spider-Man story. Not only do they have Doctor Strange, but they have some other really sweet cameos in the show. Daredevil makes an appearance with Charlie Cox reprising his role. You may know him from Netflix's Daredevil series and the current show Daredevil Born Again that they're releasing now. Can we talk about those 2 debut episodes they dropped? Holy fucking shit. Daredevil breaks into Oscorp with the help of his sidekick Finesse, aka Jean, who is one of Oscorp's interns as well. The show treats us with a little tussle between Daredevil and Spider-Man after he catches wind that there's been a break-in. The fight is so much fun. Another surprise appearance is from none other than Iron Man. Though it's very brief, it's not something I expected out of the show, but I'm very pleased with it nonetheless. They also show Thunderbolt Ross as well, who is sort of breaking bread with Norman, discussing the new Spider-Boy he's got on his team, as well as the Sokovia Accords. Now you probably heard that and said,
"What? The Sokovia Accords? That's from Civil War!"
Yep. You're right, and they refer to them a lot in this show, and there's some key elements in the story that revolve around it. Now to clear up any confusion, this does not take place in the same universe as Captain America Civil War. I think how they tell you this is by recreating Peter's introduction scene from Civil War, only it's Norman on the couch instead of Tony Stark. It's easiest to think of this as like a what if episode, but it's actually just its own Spidey series. Now it isn't a proper Marvel review without talking about some of the action. This show definitely did not lack on the fights. Not only that, but I always felt the sense of danger Spider-Man faced in these fights. He's just getting the hang of being a hero, so at times he's low-key getting his ass beat, even in the fights that he wins. Each time he faces a new threat, it was fun seeing the clever ways that he would defeat those enemies. He wouldn't necessarily win every time either. Scorpion rocks his shit the first time they meet. Peter isn't the same after that encounter, and though Lonnie is a troubled character at this point of the show, it's actually him in the second encounter with Scorpion where Lonnie is the voice of reason to Spider-Man, where he nearly takes it too far. Bro nearly ices this motherfucker. If I had to name some issues with the show though, it's that I don't know if I'm totally on board with the involvement of Peter Parker's dad. They reveal him being in jail, and I don't know, this is just my opinion, but I prefer the stories where his parents aren't really in the picture. Also, there's a few sequences in the action that felt a little bit slow. Some instances, it would be the same fight where it would go from one shot that's choppy and then to the next shot where it's butter smooth. It was a bit weird. But other than that, the rest is gravy. I'm really excited to see where this show goes. They hint at some Green Goblin action when they reveal Oscorp working on his glider, and I can't end it without mentioning the drop of ooze that gets left behind after the symbiote gets thrown back into the cosmos. Whatever they plan to do with the second season, I'm sure it's about to get real interesting. To wrap it all up, I think the show is a really good watch, and I highly recommend you check it out. I'm not too familiar with a lot of the animated Spider-Man shows, but seeing some of the other content that's come out, a lot of people are saying that this show's been the best animated Spider-Man series in a while. And after this one, I think I'll take their word for it. I think I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Anyways, I think that's about all I gotta say for this review. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by liking and subscribing, and tell me what you thought about the show. In my last video reviewing Captain America 4, you guys dropped some comments, and it was a lot of fun responding to you guys discussing the movie. So feel free to drop your thoughts down below, and we'll talk about it. There's a lot more on the way with how much has been dropping recently, so stick around if you enjoy these kinds of videos. Now that you made it this far, I fear I should warn you that you just stepped into a Twitch plug. Oh, look up, what's that up there? My Discord server? Oh no, close your eyes!